Hello friends, my name is Lisa. If we haven't met, and if we have, welcome back to my pottery studio. I'm very glad you're here today. It is a long weekend here in the United States, and I was a really good girl. Got all of my chores done yesterday, so I've got the rest of today to just spend in the studio, and I've got a number of things I want to try to get done. So I'm going to start with some throwing because that takes the most energy, and then I want to expand on some of the glaze tests that we did in the last video. I am also going to, for extra points, batch a larger amount of one of the glazes that we discovered together, and I'm going to test dipping a mug. I'm also going to test a tool that I designed and 3D printed all by myself. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, stick around. Well, first things first, I am going to get some clay wedged up. I get to use my new and improved wedging table. So I haven't done much additional to the wedging table, although I did add on the side here this IKEA panel, which is just one of those Scatus boards. And I added that so I could hang this like scraper and brush. And I 3D printed this little box to hold my bag clippies. But I have another project going on up in the wood shop right now that I'll show you. It's kind of taken over a little bit. And so until I finish that, it'd just be a little cumbersome to like finish the rest of this project. But I'm happy that I at least got my wedging table where I can use it again. Many of you asked or suggested that you could just use plywood to wedge on, which you absolutely can. And honestly, like if I were a professional potter, if I were throwing clay every day, that would probably be the best way to go because I'd always be pulling out fresh clay out of a bag. And the nice thing about fresh clay out of a bag is that it's always kind of generally close to the right consistency. But often what I'm doing is working with a mixed bag of clay. And then some of it can be like really soft and some of it can be kind of hard. So I like the plaster because if I have really wet clay, it helps pull the moisture out. And if I have pretty dry clay, I can just squirts it down with water and it won't take any additional moisture out. So that's why I like plaster, but it's a personal preference. But like right here, I've got so this is some clay that they're pots that didn't make it. Some of it might have some trimming bits in it. Just kind of, you never know what I'm gonna have. Ooh, got some mold. How long has it been?
When I was young, I thought control would lead me to an ending road, and heavy metal seemed to be the only thing that was.
Okay, very much got myself tired.
And I saw the angels coming down, and they sang a song and sang it loud, and I still remember parts of it, and the yellow glorious were lit.
I think I'm going to use my Dirty Girls bat system. I'm going to try and throw 5 mugs, I think, because actually I took the whole week off. So today's a holiday, but I have the whole week off. And because I know I'll have time at some point this week to put handles on them, it's always good to knock out some mugs.
We wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. All the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright. Oh, you and I, we got it. We don't need no more. Even in the hard times, you and I can weather any storm. Before I sleep, hear the crickets, see the moon. Side by side and through. No limit to what we can do. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right.
See, what's been going on in life? I've been doing a lot of projects in the wood shop and finishing up some like DIY stuff. My laundry room is all done. It's still not decorated very much yet, but this is still one of my favorite parts of the new studio. But I did finally like finish all of the caulk and stuff like that that needed to happen around the baseboards that I took off. And I got the drawer box built and all the doors and handles and knobs and all that are on. So that was a big project though. And now in the garage I'm working on, I changed a cabinet into a bank of drawers. And I've had my 3D printer running like mad. I'm doing this like Gridfinity system. If you guys have fallen down like the 3D printing rabbit hole yet, you'll see Gridfinity everywhere. But to organize and sort all like the tiny small pieces of hardware that I collect. So I've been working on that. Once that's done, I have a couple new projects coming up that I want to do. I'm going to come up with some sort of like coat rack hook system for our entryway because winter's coming and we're going to have coats and hats and all that stuff out soon, and we've never had a good solution in the front, so I'm going to work on that maybe this week. I also think I want to at least design some new planter beds for the backyard, and maybe during the fall and winter months here get those built so next spring I have more kind of garden area. I'm not a big gardener, but I do like having some herbs and stuff. My jalapenos this year, oh my goodness, they took off. So I've been learning all kinds of jalapeno recipes. Let's see. I don't know. I just always kind of have to have like some projects to look forward to. Not that I don't like looking forward to doing pottery projects, but you know, it's a little bit different. I like those ones that are kind of longer term. They take several weekends.
You and I, the future is bright. You and I, we got it. We don't need no more. Even in the hard times, you and I can weather any storm.
So my bucket list project, I don't know when it's going to happen. I have started designing it, but I want to make a Simon Leach treadle wheel. You guys, if you know anyone or if you have ever thrown on a treadle wheel, or if you've made one, oh my gosh, please reach out. Maybe I'll try to link a video below of what a treadle wheel is in case you haven't heard of it before, but I would love to. I mean, I've got all the woodworking skills, I think, but it does take some kind of metal work too. I have to figure out how to do the like arbor system for the, it's like a kick wheel, but instead of like kicking a concrete disc, you're actually just rocking a kind of a pedal back and forth that ends up spinning that same kind of heavyweight disc. I don't think Simon Leach, it wasn't actually, I think it was his father was a potter. Is it Bernard Leach? I should know this history. I wish I knew this history. Kind of invented it, I believe. And his brother, so then Simon's uncle, I think was the like master craftsman that actually built it. I think they're so cool. I'd have to then readjust my studio to fit it somehow. Because I think I'd want to have both. I'd want to have a kick wheel and my electric wheel. So I'm kind of doing the classic shape here that I use for my like dragonfly mugs, my stained glass designs. So I like to have a kind of a decent belly on them so I have room for those decals. Have it come in a little bit at the top. It's so sharp. Yeah, you're fun. I do have some other fun ceramic projects coming up. Ceramic and 3D printing combination. A few of you have asked what I've been doing with the 3D printing. Right now, again, a lot of it's been organizational stuff in the garage. But we're going to see one thing that I 3D printed today when we glaze. But yeah, I have a lot of ideas for stuff to 3D print for this studio, for making pots. And eventually I'll do a whole video about it, hopefully.
When your life's been put on hold for far too long, when the
All right, one more mug and then we'll go a little bit bigger. Oh, that's gonna come right off.
From breaking loose and leave the things that kept you chained. So when you find the strength to really shed your skin, all you really need to do is search within. When the road is long and hard and without end, and you feel like nothing's waiting around the bend, all good things will always come to those who wait. If you hold on to your pride and stand up straight, so there is comfort to be found in living thin. And all you really need to do is search within. There's one way to walk this earth if you plan to come out alive. One step at a time with your head held high. So when you find the strength to really shed your skin, all you really need to do is search within. All you really need to do is search within.
Got a little thin right there. I think it's gonna be okay, but we're just gonna let it be. So satisfying. Too bad. All right, so we got 4. Oh shoot, I've got 5 mug bodies to do. All right.
Hello, Ramona. I can't shake this.
Thought about challenging myself and like trying to, I don't know, make 10 mugs this week, start to finish, like have them all done within a week and try to sell them. I don't sell pottery. You'd be surprised. I give a lot of pottery away. I actually make a lot less these days because it is kind of a problem. If you make a lot of pottery, you have to get rid of a lot of pottery, you know? So I make fewer things, and I usually try to make things with an intention of like it being a gift for someone or just having an idea of where I want it to go, because otherwise it'll just sit on my shelf. I do have a pretty rudimentary website set up, and I do know how to list products on there. And it's gotten easier and easier to ship things, at least in the US. You can just like buy the postage from home, like weigh it, buy it, schedule a pickup. So if you're not shipping a ton of stuff, that's a pretty cool way to go. So I don't know, I thought about it. It'd be fun to see if anyone would buy my mugs. But I've also thought about setting up like a Patreon or something like that and then just doing like giveaways over there. That might be more fun actually, because that seems like a cool platform for having more engagement, like actually chatting with all of you. And I know not everyone likes to comment on YouTube videos, and that's totally fine. I 100% appreciate it when you do. It's your comments that keep me motivated to create to keep creating content. Because it's just so like, I don't know, knowing that a little tip or trick I offered helped, or even if you just had a bad day and like this gave you a little ASMR or something. I don't know. I love hearing from you. All that to say, it is the reward. Someday though, if I ever get to like 100,000 subscribers, I might just quit my day job. Just do this all the time. One can dream. I think I had a little bit more clay on this one because look at her. She's getting a little big. Top got a little away from me too, so we're going to try to very delicately call her in. No issue with that. But anyway, what are my other hopes and dreams? Treadle wheel, quitting my day job. I want to build a camper van. Don't quite have the husband on board for that yet. I just think it'd be so cool. Go all over, take the dog with us. Let me do one more I think I need to even some walls out here. But they are expensive and we don't really have anywhere at the house. We don't have a garage big enough to store it. We don't have land or anything. So we'd have to have a monthly cost to store it somewhere. So that's got a ghost over there. I'm gonna keep my sights set on smaller projects for now. Could I sell enough mugs to afford a camper van? That seems optimistic as well. Okay, I'm not gonna fiddle with it too much. Mug number 5. Whew, she's for those people that like a lot of coffee in the morning. Do I need I think I'm gonna need a different bat. So let's clean this guy. So we're gonna go for a canister, and these canisters, I make them very basic. They're just like a tall cylinder, really. Try to go for a tall, well, kind of a good size, maybe for sugar, flour maybe, or your coffee beans, but I do really like working on the lathe and turning lids because I just think it's kind of unique. It's like that mixed media thing. So I need to have a canister so when I get on the lathe, I've got something to do.
We stand on the opposite shore. Hello, moon. I reach through mysterious ceilings. My home.
I'm gonna start with a pretty wide base. Like I said, I kind of want it to be a wider cylinder. That's pretty good. I think I got lazy because I was getting a little tired wedging. This was the last ball that I wedged in. There's definitely some clay that's not very well mixed and it trips you up. And that's a reminder not to be lazy when we're wedging. To be fair though, I went to the gym this morning and I lifted triceps, chest and triceps, and so doing this was ugh, I broke a sweat. I want to be sure to compress the bottom really well, particularly on these wider bottom pieces, because it could be an old wives' tale, but I believe it helps prevent S cracks. I want to have a good L, straight corner in the bottom. So I use this wood rib tool, kind of set that up.
For all in this, I stand.
Oh, those walls could not be more uneven. Don't worry just yet. Don't worry just yet. I think we're gonna be okay. I am not particularly happy though, because I got it really thin, kind of at the top here. I might be able to even it back out. It's just pretty thin right here. It's just pretty thin. It's better than being thin at the bottom. When you're thin at the bottom, it could be a tough day. So maybe we're just gonna let it be wider than what it is at the bottom. But I don't hate it. I don't hate it. All right, let's do, again, I want kind of as straight a walls as I can. Y'all thought I was gonna lose it there, didn't you? Uh-huh. Oh, I thought it was too. I can still see where there's a little bit of that warble. Let's try to hide our evidence. Try to hide the evidence. All right, I'm going to set this somewhere to dry. We'll get cleaned up and then off to some glazing work.
Show me where the ending goes. Honestly don't. I should be the last to know.
Right, it feels good to have our hands in clay again, doesn't it? Oh man. I'm gonna have a little snack and then we are moving on to some glazing work. First thing I wanna do, I'm gonna batch a larger quantity of one of the glazes that we discovered together, and I want to test it on a mug. The other thing is, on these little test tiles, you don't always, there's a lot of glaze flaws that don't like to show up until you put them on something larger. At least that's been my experience. And mugs are a really good test because you've got the handle and it has a little bit more room to run if it's gonna, when it melts, to like, you know, drip and stuff. And so if there's any kind of crawling issues or shivering issues, a lot of times they'll show up on a mug when they might not show up on a test tile. So I'm gonna batch, I think I can get away with like 2,000 gram batch to dip one mug. So we're gonna do that next, but I'm gonna have my little popcorn snack first. Get some energy. Okay, getting my glazing things together here. I'm gonna want a bucket of water to wash it off. I've got my sieve ready in 2 buckets. The math is pretty simple, but I usually still will always like do it on the computer and print out a sheet. And then I just have, this is like a paper record, so I'll write the date on it so I know when I batched it. Speaking of, I'm gonna get that out. Today is Labor Day, so 9/1/25. And I know I'm going to do 95% or something like that in here. So this is my Mahavir zinc. I call it my zinc matte white glaze that in one of our rounds of testing before, we came up with this really beautiful robin's egg gray green, but I loved it. It wasn't what I thought I was going to get, but I really loved how it came out. And what I'm going to do is actually batch 2,000 grams of that. So I start with my matte white glaze. This is on my website if you wanted to go find it. It's in the blog post. I don't have any photos with it, but it's up there if you want to grab it. Then I added, this is the original test sheet for that. It added 0.5% nickel. What I'm going to do, the math is really simple. This was a 100 gram batch test, and I want to make 2,000 grams. So I just multiply the test amount by 10 and then double that, basically. So that gives you a 2,000 gram batch. Anyway, that's what I've got here, although I forgot to write down how much nickel that would be. So if it's 0.5 nickel here, multiply that by 10, that's 5 grams of nickel, and double that, it'll be 10 grams of nickel. Also, on my larger batches, I will add bentonite to most of mine, although I think I heard that you don't need to add bentonite if you have over a certain amount of clay in your glaze. But I don't do it in test batches because you don't really need it. Bentonite doesn't do anything for the glaze, but it does a lot for your studio sanity. It's a suspension agent, so it helps keep all the materials, the dry materials that are mixed in your glaze, suspended while you dip and pour and stuff. You still have to stir a lot, but it's not, you know, as bad as if you didn't have bentonite or if you didn't have a high amount of clay in that glaze recipe. So I usually add it for good measure. Maybe that's not right, I don't know, but that's what I do. So I'm going to add bentonite to this. The thing about adding bentonite and what's different in the process is you want to mix your dry ingredients together once you have bentonite in there before you add water. Bentonite will clump like nobody's business and it's really miserable. But if you mix it into the dry materials, you mix all your dry materials together first and then add your water, saves you a lot of headache. Let's start measuring out our stuff. Grab my scale. I've got this container that I will store it in. So I've got that on hand, which is handy. All right, I'm going to grab my mask.
I went down to the city with a suitcase in my hand, looking for a better deal. I'm trying to find myself a plan, roaming around the streets, filling up some useless time. And if I'd seen her then and there, I would have asked her to be mine. Ooh, something to talk about. Ooh, someone to dream about. I'm going home alone.
Okay, so now I need to calculate my water. So I do 95% water, so 950 times 2, 1,900 grams of water. Okay, so I just get some clean tap water. That was just exactly enough. Look at that! It's a perfect amount. Okay, I'm gonna keep my materials out because I want to run a couple more glaze tests. I want to expand upon the lazy glaze testing that we did last video. But all right, I'm gonna mix that up in a second, but I'm gonna show you what I designed and 3D printed all on my own that I think is going to change the game for glazing mugs. This is a little mug glazing bucket. Special extended side here for a handle. My thought is, so a lot of times if you only have like a small amount of a glaze and you want to dip a mug, let's take this off-centered mug that I did, and you want to dip it, you need to have like enough glaze. But if you have a huge bucket of glaze and if you have a huge bucket and just a little bit of glaze in it, you can't dip it. So you then pour it into a smaller container. But then if it's a little bit too wide, then you're kind of like squeezing the container and dipping and trying not to touch the sides and all that. So I designed this and I did it in 2 sizes. I think this one might be too small for most of my mugs. Maybe this one will work. But where you can dip straight down, that one's too small. And dip like this. Got room for the handle. You don't have to worry about squeezing anything. So you can just focus, dip, and come up. And then on the inside, I actually have little it's not liquid unit measurements, but it's like 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch. So I can figure out exactly how many inches of glaze I need to have to dip a mug and have enough to go all the way to the top, so you don't have to flip it over and dip it twice, So we're gonna test this out today because I've been excited to try it. All right, that's slaked. I'm gonna put my glasses on, plug in my Mega Blender. This was my first prototype, and it'll work good for like espresso cups, but probably not for your average size mug. Now, 2,000 grams, this would be enough to dip that mug, but still. We're testing, we're prototyping, we're innovating. So for the record, these are, I think, 2-liter containers, and they're the right size for about a 2,000 gram batch. If you wanted to do like a 5,000 gram batch, you probably want like the 2-gallon buckets. Keep that over there. Oh shoot, I don't have wax on the bottom of that mug that I wanted to. I have to wax that real fast. Maybe what other mug do I have? Gotta have a mug over there with wax on it that I can use. Now we want to run it through a sieve, so that's why I always have 2 of these on hand. Do this very gracefully. Oh, I definitely have some clumps in here. Hang on. See? Look at that little thing we found in there. Nobody wants that. So then what I'll do is I'm going to store the glaze in here. I'm going to come up with a name later. But for right now, I'm just going to call it Robin's Egg because that's kind of what it looks like. That's just such a basic name. But anyway, okay, one more time. So these containers that I get are just containers that had protein powder in it. And it's also lovely because it kind of smells like vanilla. So I did all that just so I can clean up and give myself a little bit more room to test my invention. So I really thought this mug was going to look the coolest. And I realized that I have not glazed the inside of it, which I would normally do first. And I really want to test this, but I really want this mug with this new glaze on it. So now I need to wax the bottom and I need to pour clear glaze on the inside. Dang it. I'm going to do all my waxing at one time, but I'm going to put this in my small kiln and fire it tomorrow so we can see how it comes out, along with these other 2 tests that I want to run. The 2 tests? No, I take that back. There's like 11 tests. 11 more tests that I want to run.
Ooh, something to talk about. Ooh, someone to dream about. Ooh, something to talk about.
Off my hands. All right. Let's see if this works. I'm going to go up to I think the number 3 on the inside of this. Shake this up a little bit because it's probably settled. So that's probably about half of this. So that would be about 1,000 grams, dry weight, 1,000 gram batch. Are you with me? Here we go. 2 tests. Will this work and will it be enough glaze? Ah, that's just a perfect amount of glaze. So if you only have 1,000 grams of glaze and you have one of these cool doodads, you can dip a mug. I'm so happy that worked. We will let this dry, but I'm very excited to put this in the kiln tomorrow. And then I wanted to stir this up before I poured it back in. Oh goodness. It's glaze day if you don't make a little bit of a mess, huh? It doesn't pour out too badly. That might be another iteration. Maybe I make more of a spout on here so that you can like pour it out like that. But I love it. Let's clean up my mess. And then I'm going to batch out 3 cups for another round of glaze tests. And the one I'm really excited about that I want to expand on is this light green one that we saw in the last video. And I'm gonna maybe try to develop this out a little bit more. I've got a couple ideas for it. And then a couple colorants that I didn't try on the last round. I didn't do anything with red iron oxide or yellow iron oxide, and I want to test that. So I'm going to test those 2 in various levels as well and just see what we get out of that as well. All right, to the sink. For bonus points, I'm going to do my glaze tests that I want to work on. And I'm out of my little quart size containers, so I'm going to have to use these and just make do with that. But if you watched the last video, I'm basically going to do the exact same thing that I did before. And I'm going to batch out my base glaze into these 3 cups, and then I'm going to follow my cheat sheet for my additives and dip test tiles sequentially and methodically. And if you didn't see that video, I'll link it. The thumbnail kind of looks like this, and you can go find that, and that'll explain this in a lot more detail. But for now, I'll speed you guys up through this whole endeavor.
Pushed out, thought I heard it so, to up and leave this town, head out west they say, maybe California, leave this dead land behind. So long Oklahoma, I think they said farewell to me. Sleep beneath the stars in California, dreaming of that old used to be.
Okay, I have all my base glazes batched out, my base 3 cups, and so I need to mark them, because I forgot to do that. I don't want to say cup 1, 2, 3, because I still have those labeled cup 1, 2, 3. So let's do, I'm just putting the glaze names. So I'm calling these MP 1 through 3 will be in here. This is going to be MP 4, 5, and 6. So like I said, I wanted to test, I'm just going to do like a gradient of red iron oxide and yellow iron oxide in the first cup. In the first 2 cups. I expect to get kind of a brown, which is fine, but I don't know if I'll get like a nice like tan or more of like a rust color. Rust is kind of expected with red iron oxide. I'm going to use our underglaze pencil to write them on the bottom. All right, okay, so this is a pretty small amount, so it's 0.2 grams, and I'm gonna increase by 0.2 grams. So first one will be 0.2 grams, second one will have 0.4 grams, third one will have 0.6 grams. Oh wait, no, I think I'm just gonna do 0.4 grams. Oh, and I'm gonna add titanium dioxide. for grins.
Down with my own two hands. Tall timber falling. I hear Tulsa calling, saying, won't you come back when you can?
Realized I just basically made rutile. I could have just tested rutile probably. Rutile is basically red iron oxide and titanium dioxide. I kind of like seeing though individually what the two materials do. So 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000. I'm going to go rinse off my blender attachment and then we will do the rest. The next set of tests is basically the same thing, but instead of red iron oxide, I'm going to use yellow iron oxide and we'll see what that does for us. Okay, so I remember that I was going to share why I like to add titanium dioxide to my tests just to see what happens. And it's because I made a very interesting discovery many years ago. Well, let's see, this would have been like 2019-ish, I think. And I was working with Ceramic Materials Workshop, so Matt and Rose Katz, and I was in their Advancing Glazes class, and I was doing kind of a focused, I don't know, set of testing around chrome tin red glazes. We know from, other potters and glaze makers that a combination of chrome and tin, when added to a calcium-based glaze, will give you a red. Now, historically though, it's always taken like a high amount of tin. I kind of stumbled upon, years and years ago, I had read that titanium dioxide does interesting things in glazes. And a long time ago, I tried to make a chrome tin red, and I failed. And that's why I actually wanted to study it when I was doing the Advancing Glazes workshop. But anyway, what I had done like forever prior to that was I tried to make a chrome tin red. I didn't get it. I basically got a gray glaze. And then I read somewhere that you could add rutile and it could create some interesting effects. So I added rutile to that glaze and suddenly I had a beautiful red glaze. And I didn't know at that time, I hadn't studied the glaze chemistry enough to know what that did. I thought it was probably from the red iron oxide that was in the rutile. But anyway, my gray glaze went a beautiful cranberry red, just the typical chrome tin red that you wanted. Anyway, I was doing this later. I was doing this study, had learned a lot more about glaze chemistry, and learned that rutile is basically titanium dioxide and red iron oxide. So it was really probably the titanium dioxide that gave like more interesting effects. And I had gotten to thinking about this happenstance years and years prior where I added rutile to a gray glaze and got red all out of nowhere. And I thought, I wonder if it was because it had chrome and tin in it and I'd added titanium dioxide. So I did a round of tests. And what I discovered was that you could essentially reduce like a lot the amount of tin that you used in a chrome tin red glaze by substituting or adding titanium dioxide. It was just like this really great kind of like, I don't know, discovery. When I showed it to Matt, he looked in through all of his books and all of his notes and stuff like that. At least it had never been documented anywhere before. And so essentially it just meant that if you wanted to create red glazes, if you wanted to use the chrome tin reaction to it, you could use a lot less tin. And tin's typically a pretty expensive material. So you could use a lot less tin, add like 1 gram, 1% titanium dioxide, and it will like amplify, it'll like bring up that chrome tin reaction. The really cool thing about that too, though, is then a potter that was in Australia, I think, was in the same class, or at least saw it online. I think you can scroll back on my Instagram and I posted about it years ago, but he saw that, I think his name was Ben, and he tried it with a copper red glaze and it did the same thing. So he was doing copper reds and had a very similar discovery by adding titanium dioxide. So anyway, tie-dye, as we affectionately refer to it, is one of my favorite materials because of that. It can do cool things. So you never know. I just figure if I'm going to test this glaze. Oh, the other thing that was really notable about it was that after we discovered that, Matt encouraged me to do more testing, and I moved the chrome tin red reaction around the Stoll chart, which basically is just a chart of your silica and your alumina, and it'll tell you if you're going to get a matte glaze or a glossy glaze, essentially. And I did a lot more tests, moved it around Stoll, and discovered that you could actually get that chrome tin red in a matte, which you really couldn't have gotten before. The reaction would have burned out. So you could get a matte chrome tin red, which was new. And then I also did a bunch of testing by adding small amounts of cobalt and suddenly was getting purple. And purple is a notoriously difficult glaze to get. So that was super exciting. And I could get a purple matte glaze, which was even more thrilling. So it was like this one discovery that led to like all these other things. And that's my claim to fame in the glaze chemistry world. If you ever see a chrome tin red glaze that has titanium dioxide, I'd like to have credit for that. But in all reality, it's unlikely that I was the first person to discover it. But I think a lot of potters who've developed their own glazes and made discoveries like that typically kind of gatekeep that information. So we were the first to put it out there into the world, I guess. I did post one of that purple glaze up on Glazy. You can go find it there if you want. It's called Piccadilly. We call it Piccadilly Matte. All right, I gotta rinse this off one more time, and then I'm going to we're gonna see if we can make this light green. We're gonna try to develop it out a little bit more. So I need to clean off this, and we'll get going on that. I'm realizing that this might be an exceptionally long video. I guess let me know if you guys like that or not. I think it's nice, like if you're in the studio and you're working on stuff and you kind of put something on that's, you know, other potters doing stuff too. Kind of helps keep motivation going, or feel like you're not alone in the basement like we normally are. I'm gonna do more with nickel and copper carb because that's what that green was, but it also had tin. I'm gonna take out the tin because I don't know that it was really doing that much for us, and the texture had changed. So my theory is that the tin had modified the texture some, so I'm gonna pull that out. And then I'm gonna gradually increase the copper carb and then increase the nickel as well. All right, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 are going to be this cup.
And I still got you in my head from all those pretty words you said. It's like I'm wasted. Every time I see your face, I'm losing track of time and space. I don't know where I am. It's like I'm wasted, and I won't waste it. And I promise that I will stand by you.
Whew, okay. All of our glaze tests are dipped, so I'm going to clean up, and I will not leave you hanging. We will load the kiln later tonight, fire it tomorrow, and we will meet back here and we'll see what these results look like. I'm gonna clean up. Ooh, we got a lot done today. I'm tired though. Okay, kids, here we go. Let's see what we got. Fingers crossed. I have not looked, I promise. Ooh. Oh man, yeah. All right, okay. Eek. Oh, the little crawl right there. But that could probably be attributed to me sort of rushing it. Maybe my hands weren't clean, but look, it didn't run. It's absolutely perfect. Interesting though, I've got a lot of crazing on the inside. Oh, that's odd. All right, I'm gonna grab the tests out and then we'll review those and we'll see what we got. Oh my. Okay. I have got some unexpected results. I'm very curious. Oh, I'm very curious which ones these are. Look at you, you're beautiful. Oh, the first thing I saw opening this kiln was this, and I don't know if you can see, it almost looks like an oil spot. Let's see what that is. I am so intrigued. Okay, what was this? This was MP6. Where's my sheet? This is yellow iron oxide. Yellow iron oxide and tie-dye did that. See, I told you, tie-dye does cool things. This is not what I expected out of yellow iron oxide in general. So that was the second cup. This is red iron oxide and tie-dye. Iron, red and yellow iron oxide plus titanium dioxide did this. Interesting. This one isn't as dramatic, but it still has kind of this curious spotting. Like, that's all the only way I can put it. It's almost like an oil spot, but so I don't know if this is going to be the best way to show you, but this is my progression with red iron oxide. So this was 2% red iron oxide. This one was 4%. Then this one was 4% red iron oxide with the titanium dioxide. Again, very interesting, cool, like kind of spotting colors there. Almost like a purpley gray, kind of more of a gray, MP5. And then this is basically the same progression and looks very much the same, except this is with yellow iron oxide. So slightly different. This is just 2% yellow iron oxide. This was 4%, and this is 4% with that titanium dioxide. And so this is the one that I'm like super intrigued about. Okay, I'm gonna move you over here so you can see these 5 a little bit better. But this is the base glaze with nickel, which is basically what this new glaze is. I just tested it a little bit at varying levels. So this is a slightly less, this is like 0.2% nickel, this is 0.5%. So very, very similar. This I added some cobalt carb, which didn't do a whole lot. But when I bumped that up, you see I get like kind of a deeper, lovelier blue. But then again, titanium dioxide doing its cool little thing that it does, took this blue into this green. And I don't like the texture, but I do like the color. And I don't care for the texture on this one either. So now I'm gonna take these recipes, these 2, and see if I can refine them to get the texture, to get the same color, but go back to more of this smooth matte glaze that I do love. Okay, friends, so I think that's a lot for this video, so I'm going to leave you here, but as always, it means the world to me that you'd stay and hang out with me. I really, really appreciate it, and I so look forward to seeing you on the next video. Okay, take care, guys. Bye.
I can't get you out of my mind. I will find